Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be making these little carolers. I'm going to make this a two-part video. They're caroling snowmen. That was my idea when I designed this. Caroling snowmen, I don't know why. So, let's begin. So I'm using a 4.5. I'm using white. It's not worsted, it's just 4-weight white. So we're going to start with a magic ring. You're going to put 6 single crochets into this magic ring. You are going to need a stitch marker. So we're doing this amigurumi style, which means no slip stitching, no chaining. You just go right into your stitch, and you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So if you want to use your stitch marker here, this is when it goes in, is after your first stitch in that space. I'm just going to count to 12, and you can put your second stitch in that space. So 2 in every space. The next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So it's 1 single crochet. And your increase is 2 single crochets in the same space. Sorry, an itch. And repeat. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets all the way around. And at the end, you should have 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So that's your first one. That's your second one. That's 2 single crochets. Then you do your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So repeat this all the way around, and at the end you should have 24 stitches. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1, as usual. That's 3 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So repeat this all the way around, and at the end you should have 30 stitches. So we increase by 6 every time. That's because we started with a magic ring of 6. So as long as you follow this pattern of 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet increase, 2 single, if that pattern there, you will easily be able to know what your numbers should be. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Repeat this all the way around and you'll end up with 36 stitches, and that is going to be as far as our increase for now goes. So your next round is going to be back loops only, 1 single crochet in each stitch. So this here, these are your back loops, and that's what you're going to go into, only go into those ones. And that will help it keep this flat and then build our snowman up so that they can sit on a side table or something, or on top of a fireplace for decor. So only in the back loops. You should have 36 stitches. Don't worry about stretching it out. So I like to just put my hook here and use my finger to push it on. It just seems simpler that way. And don't worry about pulling up and stretching it. It'll go back into shape. You won't even notice. So for the next 3 rows, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch, the entire stitch. So you should still have the same amount of stitches. Haven't increased at all anymore, but after your 3 rows, we're going to start decreasing. So 1 single crochet, 3 rows, 36 stitches, and I'll see you on the other side. So that's what you should have. You should have your nice flat bottom so it can sit up on a tabletop, or, you know, for decoration. And now your sides coming up like this. So we're going to start to decrease. So put your stitch marker in. We're going to do 4 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your decrease, so go into your first stitch. You're going to use these 2 stitches. So go into your first stitch, pull through, go into your second stitch, pull through, and then pull through all 3 of those loops at the same time. That's your decrease, and you'll see it sometimes written as SC2 tog, and that's the same thing. So repeat this, and at the end you should have 30 stitches. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, or a decrease. Here's number 1, number 2, and then your decrease. We're coming in and then going back out. We build this in one, we don't fasten off at all here. So this leaves me with 18 stitches. Before I go on, because I'm going to start increasing again, I just want to put some stuffing into the bottom of this guy. Now we don't want to overstuff it because you want this to stay flat so it can sit up. That was the whole point of doing the back loops. So I don't really want to put a whole lot into it now because it will be hard to hold. Just make sure you're keeping that flat so that it can sit. So we're going to start increasing now because you should have 18 stitches at this point. So we're going to start increasing for the other bump on the snowman. So that's our 1 single crochet. So we're going to do a 2 single crochet increase. because we left off on a 2 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1 with your stitch marker. That's number 2, and then your next stitch gets 2 in the same space for an increase. Just like before. So this should give you 24 stitches. So next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. It's going to take you up to 30 stitches. That's number 1. Three single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Oh, I'm stuck. So for the next 4 rows, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each of those 36 stitches. So this one we did 3 rows, this one we're going to do 4 rows before we decrease. So I've done my 4 rows, so this is what it should look like at this point. Now I'm going to do a 4 single crochet decrease. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then my decrease. Your next excuse me. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochet and a decrease. It's going to take you down to 18 stitches, just like we did down here. So we can put some stuffing in it before we carry on. Again, try not to overstuff. You don't want to really, I think I'm overstuffing this. Don't really want to overstuff it because it's not supposed to be fatter than the bottom. It's supposed to just be taller. So try to keep it the same size. It's supposed to be the same size as the bottom. It's just supposed to be taller. And I was putting way too much in there. So let's continue. So we're going to start increasing again for the head. So we're going to do 2 single crochet increase. That other way. That's number 1. That's number 2, and then your increase. And repeat. So before I get too far up into the head, I used, let me show you, excuse me, I put buttons on, but they're not buttons, they're, I just use safety eyes. So I just use these tiny little safety eyes that I'll probably never use for anything, because they're so small, they're kind of useless. To me anyway. I don't generally make small things. If you've followed my channel for any length of time, you'll know I don't really make small things, so I didn't figure I'd be using the eyes, so I decided to make them buttons. So if this is where your marker is, then this will be your front. So you just got to determine where everything's going. It's hard to line up the stitches sometimes. It's probably as close as I'm going to get them. Doesn't help that I've already stretched this out of shape by overstuffing it. So just put your backs on. So now that we're all set, your next rounds it's going to be 5 rows. So 1 single crochet in each stitch. You should have 30 stitches for 5 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So that's my 5 rows, and this is what it should look like. So we're going to start decreasing. I'm going to do 3 single crochet decrease, because I ended on a 3 single crochet increase. So that's number 1. So I'm going to put some eyes on this guy, this girl, the girl snowman. You can decide what size eyes you want. I've put really big ones on her before. I think I put these ones. Yeah, I'll put those ones on. Her bonnet does come off. So I have it written that I did between the 5th and 6th rows, but the last time I followed my own instructions with that, I put my eyeballs on too high for my Grim Reaper, so I'm just going to eyeball it right now instead of reading my instructions. Yeah, 5 and 6 would be there anyway. Actually, that probably is just about right. So count between 5 and 6 from the neck. So that's 5 and 6. It seems accurate. Try to keep them in line with your crooked buttons. I think that's a little close together. Yeah, it looks like about 3 stitches in between the eyes. And then all we're putting is that little mouth on, so I would say that's right. 5th or 6th row from the neck. I'm not going to make a Grim Reaper mistake again. There we go. There's our eyes are done, so now we can close up the head and be done with it. And then move on to the other stuff. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. It's going to take you down to 12 stitches. So actually, before we do this, let's put some stuffing in here. Now that we have our eyes on, we can put some stuffing in here. So the head is smaller than the body. I had to restuff mine off camera because I started to overstuff that and I screwed it right up. See if I can manage to not overstuff my head. So I'm going to stuff some more down after my next row. But that's what we're looking at. 1 single crochet decrease. Takes you down to 12 stitches. Try not to pull tight, because you don't want it to look like you pulled tight. I always pull too tight and then you can see it. So you've got 12 stitches. If you think you need more stuffing, you can shove this down before we finish it. Just trying to make the head rounder, really, for mine. So I like to push mine out and then shove down the middle. I find I get a way better filling when I do it like that. I don't know why. So if you push on it and it bounces back, then you have enough. But if it doesn't bounce back, then you need more. So I don't want to go too big. But I don't want to leave it soft either. So we're going to decrease 6 times. You don't really need your stitch marker. So that's my 6. You can go into the next stitch. You can fasten off. Please don't pull tight. Let your head all wonky. You're just going to sew the rest shut. So if you think you need some more stuffing, maybe closer to the top of the head, you can do that. But she's going to have a bonnet on, so it doesn't really matter. But whatever you like. So I just go in and out, all the way around. And then I just pull. So I'm going to come across and I'm going to make a knot. Pull back and forth. That tightens it. So I'm just going to weave my end. So just go down the top of the head. I know not everyone knows what weaving is. So just go down, pop out wherever you want to pop out. If you go back in, you need to go in as close as you can to your lead. That way it just looks like a stitch when you pull it. So that just looks like a stitch. So nobody will be able to really tell. So they say 3 different directions for your weaving, and you should be safe. Cut it off. There we go. We got the snowman body. So we'll get the hat and the scarf done. We'll build the little book. Then we'll do the arms, and then we'll put it all together. So I decided that I was going to use the sparkly purple for the girl's hat. It's With Love metallic. I know that's so hard to see. There we go. So I'm just going to pull this out from the middle. I turn mine into cakes. They don't come in cakes like this. I make them into cakes. So if you haven't seen my winder video, I should probably pull from this side. So if you haven't seen my winder video, you should go watch that. It's a lot easier too, especially if you're filming. Alright, so you're going to start with a magic ring. So we're going to start with singles and then we're going to change to doubles for the bonnet part. But for now, we're going to do, this part is going to be amigurumi, so it's not going to be any slip stitching or chaining. You're going to put 8 single crochets into this ring. That's my 8. pull your tail, you're going to need a stitch marker for this first part. You're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So I'm just going to count to 16. I'm not going to use my stitch marker, but if you were going to, you'd put it in the first stitch, not the second stitch. That's my 16. I'm going to pull my center closed. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's my 1 single crochet and then my increase of 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So you should have 24 stitches. You're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches. And then we are going to not need our stitch marker anymore after this. So 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches. So that's my 24. We are now going to slip stitch and chain 2. And then you're going to put a double crochet into that chain 2 space, and you're going to make a habit of doing this throughout the rest of the project. So now you're going to do 4 rows of just You're going to do 4 rows of 20 crochets, chain 1 and turn. So we're going to start making our bonnet part. So you had 24 stitches, and you should have 4 that are unworked. So we're not going all the way completely around because we're making the bonnet part. So at this point you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn. You're not chaining 2 because I don't want it to be used as a stitch. So you're only going to chain 1 and you're going to turn. And you're going to do this for 4 rows. You're going to do back again for second row, third, and fourth. Each time chaining 1 and each time putting your double crochet into this first stitch, which means you're going to have to pull back on your work to see it. Chain 1, turn your work. So do 2 more rows and I will meet you back here. So this is what you should have. It's your bonnet. So next we are going to make the string, the holes for the ties. So yeah, they have ties on them to tie them down, so to tie the bonnet. I just didn't because I was doing a video, but I put ties on it. So it ties it down. So we're going to do those holes next. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn. So I am okay. Go into this first hole, very first one there. I'm going to chain 1, or I'm going to single crochet 1. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to skip 1, and I'm going to single crochet. Chain 2, skip 1. That's your repeat. Single crochet, chain 2, skip 1. So when you come back to the end, you're not going to have a skip 1 or anything. You're just going to put a single crochet into that space to finish it off. Chain 1. In each of these big spaces that you just made with your chain 2, you're going to put 3 half double, so sorry, chain 2, chain 1, chain 2. In each of these big spaces, you're going to put 3 half double crochets. In this first one, you're just going to put 1. Then your next big space, and moving forward, you're going to put 3 half double crochets in each. No chaining, just 3 half doubles in each. So yarn over, go into your space, pull through all 3 loops. That's the half double. It's pretty easy. It's pretty tight and it's pretty fast. So that's it. That's your bonnet. And these spaces here that your 3 half doubles went into, you're going to use that to put your tie through to tie it. So at this point you can fasten off. So we need to make a tie. So now I didn't do mine very long. So make a slip knot. And we're going to chain 45. That's my 45. I'm going to do one more so I can fasten off. So I got a bit of a little bit of a nubby for using with my needle. We'll cut this off after we use it. So just take your hood, your bonnet. You can start wherever you want to start. I'm going to come up through this first big space. Maybe. I'm stuck on something. I'm not sure what I'm stuck on. Oh, this stupid thing. I like this metallic yarn, but these little metallic pieces, sometimes that piece there, sometimes they like to come off and then they cause issues. Such as that. Let's try this again. So you're just coming right up through that big space. So leave some hanging for that side. So pull this until your ends are even. And then you can cut your ends short. And that's your little bonnet. You can do it up as tight as you want or as loose as you want. The tighter you go, the more this gets all wavy, like that. So it's completely up to you. I don't mind a little bit of wave. It's like a little house in the prairie bonnet. So the ties are just for show mainly, because I mean you don't really need it tied up. And the scarf is going to be there. Let's quickly do a mouth and then we'll do the scarf. So you just need a little piece of black for the mouth. I just did a mouth straight across. I was gonna do like a round mouth to look like she's singing, but I don't sew very well and I don't know how to do needlepoint, so if you know how to do that, it's probably a good idea. Put a knot on one end. So I just did a straight mouth for both. But you can do a smiley mouth or something. So figure out where, it doesn't matter where you go in. It just matters where you pop out. So figure out where you want to pop out. Nice simple mouth. And then you're just going to go across to the other side and pull through. Now you don't have to pull this tight. You can leave this so that it looks like a smiley mouth. You can do that. I think I'm going to leave mine loose a little bit. Although that's what I did with her. And her mouth isn't smiley. I mean, I can pull it down to look like a smile. Some people, let me go back. Now some people, I knew that was going to happen. They'll go into the mouth and they'll wrap around and pull down so that you can make a smiley mouth. You just got to go up and around. And I am going to unhook my yarn again. Now I think this yarn's a little too thick for this. But some people will do that so that it looks like there's a smiley mouth. But you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do this, but if you are going to do it and you want it pulled down, I would suggest grabbing some of the white, and it just needs to be just one tiny little piece of white to help hold the mouth in place. So it doesn't have to be a lot of pieces. And then you can come through and pull. So generally I would make a knot with this guy, but I don't have enough to make a knot. So I'm just going to push him down without a knot. He should get lodged in there. I'm going to push that guy in. Don't pull your pieces in, push your pieces in. So, and then you can just play with the mouth a little bit. There, looks like a smiley mouth. So let's get on the scarf. Okay, so this scarf is 40 rows long, and it goes pretty fast though, because it's only 5 stitches across. So I don't know if you can see, the scarf has these ribbed edges. It's ribbed all the way around. You don't have to do that. See if I can show you on my blue. You don't have to put these ribbed edges all the way around, but if you want to, this is how you're going to do it. So chain 5. Yeah, so technically 4 stitches is what we're using. So 4 stitches, you're going to single crochet back. You have 4 working stitches and you're going to use all of them. That's your first row. So that's kind of your base. Chain 1 and turn. To get those ridges, you're going to go into the back loops only on every single row. So this one's a little more difficult because you actually have to turn your project to see the back loop. But you're only doing 4. Chain 1 and turn. Back loop only. So it goes really super fast. And it's a good practice for your back loops. So you just got to hold it different than you would your normal work. Back loops only. So I'm already on my 3rd row. So you're going to do this till you have 40 rows. Almost at 20. And then I'll see you on the other side. So this is mine. That took about 6 minutes. So I'm going to fasten off. I actually ran out of purple. I had to cut my purple. I was using this and then a great big knot showed up, and so I just had enough to do the scarf. So these are row counters. You can buy them at Amazon, dirt cheap. So they're certainly worth getting. Just wear it on your finger and hit the button every time you do a row. So they're like $6 or something, I don't know. So hide in your ends, or weave, or hide, or whatever you want to do. So to get the little, these, if you want those on there, see at the end of the scarf, I use these 3 fingers. No, my yarn's not, my cake's not acting like a cake right now because I had to cut it. So you don't need to wind it that much, maybe a few times. I probably did too much, as usual. So cut down the middle. They may seem like large pieces, but we're going to trim them down. So find each stitch. Wrap it around your hook. Pull through. Wrap it around and do a stitch. You can also use a rug hooking needle if you have one. But I figured the hook is right here. I don't want to go dig out my rug hooking tool, so go to the next stitch. Do the same thing. Pull down, make a stitch. And then you can just trim it wherever you want to trim it. Just like that, and that's the end of your scarf. So you can do the other side and then we'll put it on. There, I got both my sides done. I did way too much of that, but both my sides done. So we are going to do the arms first. And we're going to put those on before I put the scarf or anything on, because it gets really awkward trying to do both. So you can just set your scarf aside and we'll move on to arms. Alrighty, so we're going to do a magic ring. These arms are pretty quick too. They're pretty small. Everything's pretty quick in this little project. So is my magic ring. I'm going to put 6 single crochets inside this magic ring. So we're going to start this off a little bit differently than we normally do. We're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase. Just wanted to keep it kind of really small on the ends. So that's my 1 single crochet. Don't really need a stitch marker because I'm only doing this 3 times. 1 single crochet and an increase of 2 single crochets in the same stitch. You're going to do this 3 times around. So you should have 9 stitches. In each of those 9 stitches for the next 2 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet. I would just count to 18, really, honestly. So that's my 18 stitches. Pull your middle closed, and then you can just probably cut this off a little bit. And then it can just go down into here. So now we're just going to decrease. We're going to do a 1 single crochet decrease. That's 1 single crochet. And your decrease. Tiny, tiny. So you should have 6 stitches. For the next 4 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in those 6 stitches. So I would just count to 24. So I'm at 12. I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing in here. before I continue. I got 12 more stitches to do. So halfway there, 12 more. So that's my 4 rows. So you still only have 6 stitches. You're going to go into the next stitch and put your stitch marker in. That's stitch number 1. You're going to do 3 single crochets. So that's number 1, 2, and 3. And now you're going to do 3 half double crochets. This is what's going to bend our arm. You're going to repeat this for 3 more rows, so 4 altogether. So 3 singles, and 3 half doubles. Don't forget to stuff as you go. So that gives you a little bendy arm. It's hard to see. You can see your own work. So that gives you a bendy arm. So the next 4 rows we're going to do 1 single crochet. You still have 6 stitches. We're going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 6 stitches, and that's going to really pronunciate the bend in your arm. So again, I would just count to 24. It's way faster than taking out your stitch marker. So that is it. I am done. There's your arm with the elbow bend in it. You can fasten off. You can stuff it. Keep a sewing tail. I'm just going to finish this a little bit. I gotta get in here. So it's getting sewn on the body like this, or like this, probably like this. So it's going to be diagonal like that. So you need the fold to run vertical against the arm, instead of how we would normally do it. So I need to move my yarn around to where I can start sewing from. So I just do a couple of stitches over. So I'm going to fold my arm in half. Move my stuffing around a bit. Get the shape I want. I'm going to put the other arm on the screen, and you can go make your other arm. We're just going to whip stitch this shut. Well, we're going to kind of sort of make believe we're whip stitching this shut. Not quite a whip stitch, but you get the idea. Just close the top up. Makes it way easier for sewing onto the body. So the snowman is going to be holding a book, a caroling book. So you want the arm to at least be up, wherever you want it. And then you can just sew, the arm's going to be sewn on, obviously, diagonally. So not like the normal way we do dolls or arms, but If you sew it on good enough, it's not even going to be noticeable. So I'll go ahead and build your other arm and stuff it and sew it and get her on there, and I'll meet you right back here. So this is what mine looks like for the moment, and I know it's not that attractive. Put my snowman back into shape. So I know it looks funny right now. The arms look way wrong on it. I think mine are pretty even, possibly. But when you get everything on, it doesn't look that bad. So I kind of wrap my scarf around like that, pulling it down, obviously. So you can put it over the arms. Pulling the scarf down. Now, you do hide some of the buttons, but that's okay. So I'll get a piece of yarn. So you're not sewing this whole thing on, you're just kind of tacking it down. Oh, my battery's gonna die. So I'll make a knot. You're gonna jam that down into the doll when you're done. So once you determine how you want yours sewn on, you can just go down, sew the scarves together first. So sew the two ends together. Don't pull this into the doll, we're going to push that down. So once you've tacked those two pieces of scarf down, then you can kind of go up and weave. It's that simple. There's nothing to it at all, because really, where's the scarf going to go? So again, I'm going down into the doll and I'm weaving. So you are kind of tacking it on all the way around, pulling it down to where you want it. I want mine to cover the arm. So just make sure you come in close enough. Go back in next to your lead. And probably one more time. Go in, pop out. Wherever. You can just cut that off. And then this little guy, cut it off till you have a little nubby. And then you're just going to push that down into the doll. So if somebody does try to rip your scarf off, you won't get very far. Alright. Put the bonnet on. Give it one little tie, just keeps it in place. There you go, just like this. Now the last thing we gotta make, I'm just gonna leave my ties undone, honestly. The last thing we gotta make is the book, and that's gonna keep our arms in place like this, so they won't look so stupid. And then for the most part, it's all hidden at the back here. So the choir book is so fast and so easy. You need black and white, because I did the white pages on the inside, not just the black book. You might want to actually book this, because it doesn't seem to want to keep its shape. Make a slip knot. I almost lost my train of thought. Make a slip knot and chain 5. You've got 4 working stitches that you're going to use. So single crochet 4, chain 1 and turn. For the next 7 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 4 stitches, chain 1 and turn. 7 rows. So, you can just fasten off. Don't worry about a sewing tail or anything. We're gonna actually probably just use white. That's what I did for my last one because I had to go through the hands. So hide your ends. Weave them in. So now take your white, and my white is thinner. This is worsted. My white is not worsted, so my white's actually thinner than the black. So you're going to make this a little bit smaller than you just made the black. You're going to chain 4 and you're going to single crochet 3. Chain 1 and turn. So for the next 6 rows, you're going to put 3 single crochets, chain 1 and turn. And this is my 6th row. So fasten off with a sewing tail for this one. So that fits into there like that. You just want to grab that back part of the top part of the black and not go all the way through. So once you got it tacked on in a couple of places, you can starch it and then just wrap this around it to try to hold it so that this keeps its shape, and then sew it on. So I have this stuff that's called Stiff and Quick, and I bought it off of Amazon. I'm going to use it on my book. So you just kind of want to soak it. Soak the fabric. Put it in the position that you want it in. So I'm going to tie it into position with this so that it doesn't move. I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll come back and sew it to the hands. So I starched this, as you know, and it's still pliable. I actually glued parts of the white paper down just to make life easier. I used this glue It's just clear glue I get from Amazon. You get a whole box of 10 for like $6 or something. That's Canadian dollars I speak in because that's where I live. So I don't know what American would be. So instead of doing a slip knot on the end, I think I'm just going to do a knot. I'm just going to come through the back of the hand. And then into the white part of the book. So don't pull this through, it's getting pushed through. So just go back and forth a couple of times. Pull tight this way, but not that way. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter if you put a divot in your hand. Your hand is super small, but when you go back in as close as you can to your lead so that it just looks like a stitch on the other side. And then you're going to have to scooch to the other side of that. And go. Yeah, see, my glue didn't even hold, probably because of the starch. Into the other hand. If you sew better than me, then you're one step ahead. It doesn't take much to sew the book on, but it can be awkward. There we go. So I'm just gonna weave. I don't really have much to weave with, so I'm gonna tie a knot on this end as well, and I'm gonna poke this end down too. Just in case something happens, if somebody tries to pull on the book or something for some reason. Not much place to jam that down. So that's all the time we have for part 1. Part 2, we'll do the male snowman, caroler, and all of his garb. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.